All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going on a guided tour of the most complex, most powerful, and frankly, the most fascinating organ you own, your brain. So let's get started on this journey into, well, the command center of you.
So, let me ask you this. We're talking about something that's mostly fat, can fit right in your hands, and yet it contains every single memory, every thought, and every feeling you have ever experienced. Pretty wild, right?
You guessed it, it's your brain. And that number you see, 86 billion, that's the mind-boggling number of neurons packed inside that 3-pound command center. And get this, each of those tiny cells can connect to thousands of others, creating a network so vast it has more connections than there are stars in our galaxy. Just let that sink in. So you can think of your brain as the ultimate CPU for your body, right? It's constantly taking in this flood of information from your senses, processing it all, and coordinating everything, from your heartbeat to composing a piece of music. And here's a crazy fact. Even though it's only about 2% of your body weight, this thing is a real energy hog, using a whopping 20% of your body's oxygen and calories.
Okay, so how is this incredible machine even organized? Let's start with a bird's eye view, a high-level tour of its three main parts.
All right, so this table breaks it down really nicely. Think of it as the big three. First, there's the cerebrum, which we're calling the thinker. That's the big, wrinkly part on top that does all the heavy lifting. Then you've got the cerebellum, the athlete, tucked underneath whose whole job is coordinating movement and balance. And finally, the brainstem, or life support. This little guy manages all the automatic things that, keep you alive.
Okay, let's zoom in. We're going to start with the star of the show, the part that takes up most of the space, the mighty cerebrum. This is where the real magic of consciousness happens.
So the cerebrum is split right down the middle into two halves, the left and right hemispheres. And here's the really wild part. Your right hemisphere controls the left side of your body, and your left hemisphere controls the right side. It's all crisscrossed. And they talk to each other through this information superhighway called the corpus callosum. But we can get even more specific. Each of those hemispheres is split into 4 zones, or lobes. The best way to think about them is like specialized departments in a giant company. Each one has its own very specific, very critical job. So, shall we meet the department heads? First up, right at the front, just behind your forehead, you've got the frontal lobe. Sticking with our company analogy, this is the C-suite. This is the CEO's office. It's all about planning, making decisions, and, well, self-control.
Yeah, this is the part of you that's wrestling with a tough problem or telling you not to say that thing you probably shouldn't say. It's basically the source of your personality. And here's a fun fact. It's the very last part of the brain to finish developing, usually not until your mid-20s. Which, yeah, might explain a few things about being a teenager, right? All right, let's move back a bit to the top and back of your head. This is the parietal lobe. Think of this as your brain's sensory command center. It's taking in all that info about touch, temperature, and pain, and building this incredible real-time 3D map of the world around you. You know how you can close your eyes and still touch your finger to your nose? That's your parietal lobe doing its thing. It helps you understand where your body is in space, but it also helps you read, navigate your surroundings, and make sense of language. It's all about one thing, making sense of sensation.
Okay, now for the sides of your head, right around your ears. These are the temporal lobes. And yeah, given where they are, it's probably no surprise that they're the main hubs for everything to do with sound. But trust me, their job description is way bigger than that.
Have you ever heard a song and bam, you're instantly transported back to a specific memory? You can thank your temporal lobe for that. It's absolutely crucial for forming new memories, recognizing a friend's face in a crowd, and understanding not just the words someone is saying, but their tone and emotion. And that brings us to the very back of the brain, the occipital lobe. This part is a specialist. It has one job and one job only, but it's a huge one. It's in charge of vision. Everything you see is processed right here. It's a great way to think about it. Your eyes are just the cameras. They capture the light. But the occipital lobe, that's the powerful graphics processor that takes all that raw data and turns it into the rich, colorful 3D movie of the world that you're experiencing right now. So we've toured the parts of the brain that handle all your conscious thoughts. But what about all the stuff that happens in the background, the things we don't even have to think about? Well, let's meet the hidden heroes, the parts that work as your body's automatic pilot. And here they are again, our athlete and our life support system. The cerebellum, which actually means little brain, is all about making your movement smooth and coordinated.
And the brainstem, well, that's the absolute non-negotiable bedrock. It handles the pure basics of staying alive.
Riding a bike is the perfect example of how this works. Your frontal lobe, the CEO, makes the decision, hey, let's go for a ride. But the second you start, the cerebellum takes over. It's the one making thousands of tiny, instantaneous adjustments to your muscles to keep you balanced and pedaling, all without you having to consciously think about it.
And then there's the brainstem. Honestly, you could argue this is the single most critical part of your brain. It's running your life support systems, breathing, your heartbeat, swallowing, all the things you thankfully never have to remember to do. It just works 24/7, keeping the lights on.
So, we've broken the brain down into all these different parts, but the most important thing to remember is that none of them work alone. It's all about teamwork. So let's put it all back together and see how it works as one amazing, unified network.
Okay, so if you're going to remember just a handful of things from our tour today, let it be these 5 points. 1. The brain is a team. 2. It's unbelievably dense. 3. It's organized. Cerebrum for thinking, cerebellum for moving, brainstem for living. 4. It's dynamic, a buzzing network of signals. And 5, the most important one, it's you. Every thought, memory, and feeling that makes you who you are, it all comes from here.
You know, what's truly humbling is that after all that, after everything we've learned, we are still just scratching the surface. We've mapped the continents, but the inner worlds are still largely a mystery. The brain is still one of the biggest, most beautiful frontiers left in all of science.
And all of this leaves us with the biggest question of all, doesn't it? We can point to a part of the brain and say, okay, vision happens here. But how? How does a 3-pound lump of tissue, this intricate web of electricity and chemicals, create you? How does it generate the feeling of being happy, or the experience of seeing the color red? How does it create consciousness itself? That is the great mystery that we're all still trying to solve.